Hey y'all, it's Holly. So I finally got around to seeing the smash hit Mercy. I kid, it's not doing great. And I kind of see why. So I didn't hate this. I went in expecting complete nothing, like bottom barrel stuff, which kind of helped. I think when I go into movies expecting nothing from them or thinking they're going to be bad, I end up liking them a bit more. But this isn't as bad as everyone's saying. But I see where they're coming from, and I do get it. Um, but if you don't know the basic plot already, it's set in like the nebulous future. I think they say, but I don't remember. And LA is overrun by crime and homelessness and blah 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 blah. So the police department develops this AI program to act as judge, jury, and executioner. Like you got 90 minutes to prove that you're innocent. There's a little counter that says, "Oh, you're like like 95% guilty. Get it below like 92, you're in the clear. You got 90 minutes. There's a counter there." Um, and so like that premise on its own where like you have a certain amount of minutes and you have like access to the entire grid, like everyone's phones is uploaded, like all the cameras, everything, like you have access to everything, so you can be like, oh no, let me check this person, like let me check their phone records, give me that, blah blah blah. In premise, that's all really good, and I feel like the stumbling blocks are like the stepping stones for something interesting are there. And this is a concept that works best with a police like detective character as the center, much like this movie, because Chris Pratt's character is a detective who helped install the system, and he's framed for his accused of his wife's murder, so he has to use the system to prove himself innocent. Um, and I can see where this gets into some tricky scenarios because the movie even addresses it somewhat, where uh, if you don't have that kind of knowledge and that kind of access to things, you're not going to do as well. You're probably going to be found guilty. Like he's the only one so far out of like 19 cases or whatever it was, because he was case 19, to be found not guilty. Um, so, firstly, let me begin with the stuff why I think like the main reasons why people aren't liking this movie, and I'll get into why I kind of liked it. And then going back to it's actually no reverse things I did like. Like I said, the premise itself is good. I think, and like the scream based kind of movies, like I say scream movies, you're talking about like The Host, Searching, um, War of the Worlds, those kind of movies where it's like more computer based stuff is, I guess, the newfound footage. And, depending on how you work it, can be fine. And it's kind of as a blend of normal and that. Um, and like I said, I do like the counter. The counter was kind of nice. It's unique. It does say, like, for good or for bad, how much time the movie has, because the movie is 100, yeah, 100 minutes. And when the trial's 90 minutes, that's 10 minutes outside of the trial. So you can tell how much movie is left, which I kind of liked. I did kind of like that. That's kind of fun. Um, but it does address in its own hesitant, non-committal way of the issues with AI and certain things. And this is where I think some of the issues come up um, for people is that um, it doesn't say if AI is good or bad. It does kind of lean to AI can be good in some scenarios, but not good for like justice because the black and whiteness of it isn't really fair, and there's more human emotion and empathy and all that jazz behind it. So it kind of gets to that, and at the end, it's like we got to work on AI learning, so that part's a little finicky. Like you kind of expect it to be like, let's start all over, let's go back to normal justice system. But it kind of ends in a way that they're going to try and figure something out. I don't know. There's never going to be a sequel to this, so who knows? But so like it does kind of approach that, and I see like I'm not a huge AI person, like at all. Especially within like the film industry and stuff, it's not good. But like the in terms of like a movie like this, where like the access to everything, like let's say if you needed the access to everything to prove your case within a more reasonable scenario, could be useful. That's where I think like this had the beginnings of a lot of interesting stuff. So like if you had access and you had the knowledge base, to be like the same knowledge base Chris Pratt's character has, then the AI tools are useful to you. But if you're just a normal human with like just a normal homeless person or whatever, like the main people who get picked up, they're no use to you because you don't have that knowledge and you only have 90 minutes. If the 90 minutes was like extended to like a day or two or a couple of more hours, you may get somewhere. Um, but like that kind of thing is interesting. And I'll get to a stumbling block too later because there are some issues. I did have this with this movie. It also very briefly and lightly touches on treatment of the homeless, sort of, sort of, sort of. And that uh, because they created this system to pretty much fix the homeless population issue. That's not what they're saying. That's kind of what they're saying. Um, it's very just like all guilty, pretty much. But the way the movie ends is like, since they need a bit more humanity, they it kind of approaches the idea of like, let's not assume they're all guilty. Let's give them a chance because, spoilers, um, I'm going to get into spoilers from now on because it's hard to talk about the rest without getting into it. The main villain, two main villains. The first one is this guy who wants revenge on the Mercy program and Chris Pratt because the program killed his brother. Like he was the first criminal executed. He killed the brother. They killed the brother, whatever. And he was innocent and like provably innocent, except the detective who was intaking him threw away the evidence because she wanted to get rid of all that crime. And she was just like, no, get it. They're homeless, they're evil, whatever. She just didn't care. And that's the same with a lot of the cops and that were just plowing through all the homeless populations. So like there is that bit of like they just don't care. Like I understand people's issue with like how they treated the homeless in this 100%. Like I get everyone's complaints and I could 100% see it. And then, like I said, at the very end, they try to say something. Like, it's just getting there. They're like, let's treat them with some humanity. They're not all bad. That kind of thing. Whatever. There's something there. Um, and that goes back to how I would fix, like, this movie. I'm kind of rambling a bit, but how I would have done this movie, or, like, a better version of this mercy system, would have, like, automatically have 100% access to everything already set up. So you're not scrambling to find all of your information. Discovery's already been done. I think that's the biggest issue with this movie. Like in terms of like a concept, like a provable, repeatable thing or whatever. Well, biggest, but like in concept, in theory, um, is that the person being accused has to bring their own discovery, essentially, has to find all the evidence themselves. And in 90 minutes, that's really not enough. But if this AI system has access to everything, it should have access to everything and be like, oh yeah, here's everything, prove your case. And if it had access to everything, because it easily put. That's the thing. At the end of the movie, it pulls up the detective's body cam. Says, "Oh yeah, no, she definitely got rid of the evidence." It's like, so you weren't going to put that up unless the accused asked for it, and they didn't know to ask for it. That's the thing. Is like you should already have all the detectives, like all police body cams, already in your system. That should already be a thing. Like if this was a better written movie, that would be a key point. Being that like if I was writing like already built in the system, all detective stuff is automatically uploaded into the system, no matter what the case. Like if I'm working the case at all, have anything to do with the case, my stuff automatically goes into that. Because then you don't have the shenanigans of cops messing with stuff, which I mean they do. But um, so there is that big thing. That's where the second person comes in. The second person, I once again, I 100% get. In a traditional movie, I don't think this would be a big of an issue. It's kind of an issue, but less whatever. The main like twist villain is the Chris Pratt's character's new partner, who happens to be a black woman. And the issue with that is that she is the only black woman. I think the only black person, black cop, in the whole movie. So she's double, and she's the twist villain. That's a that's a little weird. Like there are a lot of cop movies where like the villain or like the one who abuses power is a black dude, but like generally those have other black characters or the other cop is black too. So it's not as like, hey, this one person's the issue. Like you have two non-white police officers. First one played by the Asian dude from 911, which I don't know his name at all, and I don't watch the show. I just know clips. It's Kenneth Choi. Yeah, and then uh, yeah, it's him, and then Callie Rios as like the only two minority characters, and he dies, and she's the villain. That is a bad look. That is a really bad look. Um, and plus the treatment of homeless people, not great. Pro AI for the most part, like very non-committal. At the very end, um, is like all of that's bad. Being made by Amazon, bad. Like I'm fully admitting this has a lot of bad. And if you don't like Chris Pratt, a lot of boom are bad because you're stuck with him. And he's fine. He's fine in this. It's okay. There's some good bits with him, but for the most part, it's whatever. There is the issue that uh, he is a abusive drunk, and you're supposed to root for him, which is not great. Um, however, when I hear people talk about it, it's like, oh, the main villain's like anti-AI anarchist. It's like, blah 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 blah. They like treat him more as like a hero. It's like, not quite. Close, not quite. Like anti-AI, fine. Anti-police, also fine. But he also uses a police officer like Chris Pratt's character's daughter as a shield, and just goes about it the complete wrong way. He's like, I'm going to blow up a ton of people to prove my point. It's like, there's other ways you could have done this. The twist is that this guy killed Chris Pratt's wife, framed him, and then decided to blow both of them up, both him and Mercy up, with like these bombs he was making. And there's better ways he could have done it. You could have just blown up Mercy and not deal with all this other murder. But whatever. I don't think that makes you a complete hero. You're still a little bit of a villain on this. Um, oh, that's the other weird thing. Is that it's sort of a weird switch up for me. Is early on, you're like, oh, Chris Pratt goes to AA. The guy who turns out to be the villain it's a sponsor. I'm like, oh God, it's an AA thing. I'm not a fan of AA stuff. Not because it doesn't help people. For the people it does help, it does help. But it's drenched in like religion and kind of like a almost like shaming, almost cult kind of thing. And that just doesn't sit well with me. And the Christianity part does come in I thought that was going to come in because Chris Pratt is pretty outspoken about his religiousness and magness and junk. So it's like, okay, great. However, the villain was just using AA. Be like, hey, Chris Pratt came in drunk. Perfect. Like, he wasn't really trying to there help him or anything. He was just like, I was just sitting there, AA once, and then you came in. I'm like, perfect. I guess we'll play it now. Yeah. So, like, it wasn't pro AA, I guess. There's a lot of stuff where it's like, I don't know if you're fully pro, fully against. You're kind of just non-committal in a lot of things. And it sounds more like I dislike this movie now because I'm pointing out a lot of issues. But what I have to say, and I reiterate this, is the basic, like, ideas, basic premise of this is good. It's a good starting point for something. Like if this was a longer movie, they had more time to do it. They had complete access, like all the stuff was already there. Like they knew what the police was doing already. They had everything. Like the AI had everything already set up and already knew. Then, sure. If it was more egalitarian, sure. If like it was just little things that can make this movie an idea better. But I'm not gonna say this is the worst movie like of the year. Like one, it's too soon to call that for sure. But also, it's like y'all are blowing this way out of proportion. This isn't that horrible. I get it. One of the huge AI, anti-AI movement, anti-Amazon, anti-Chris Pratt, anti-police, all that jazz right now. Fair enough. I'm with you on all of that. But it is not nearly as bad as War of the Worlds was last year. And that's the main thing I was like, yes, this year's War of the Worlds. Like, it's close, but it's not bad. It's not that bad. It's one of those movies that if it's free, go ahead and check it out. Do not spend money on this. That's the most I can say. Do not spend money on this at all. If I had spent money on it, I'd probably be disappointed. But like I said, I also went in with like negative expectations. I fully expected just a rant about how horrible it was. But no, there was stuff in it that was fine. It was fine. It was forgettable for the most part. It's like, okay. Like the only other thing I could say is like throughout the movie, like Rebecca Ferguson plays the AI, and she's supposed to be like emotionless or whatever, but you can tell she's not even from the beginning. So that part's a little odd. Um, but yeah, it's fine. I've seen worse. I haven't seen worse this year, but I've seen worse. It's okay. I didn't loathe it. I didn't hate it. It was fine. I see what they were trying to do, but they weren't committing far enough for that. And I very much see everyone's issues. I mostly agree with all the issues. I think there's a little bit of like exaggeration, but for the most part, I'm with y'all. But I don't think it's just as bad as everyone's saying. So like, when it's free, ironically on Amazon, and you want to check it out, why not?